Hey Shakers, and welcome to Worth Your Salt, the podcast that shakes up your marketing game in the health and wellness industry. Worth Your Salt is brought to you by Salt Marketing. Salt Marketing helps health and wellness practitioners build trust and authority to attract a steady stream of inbound wellness seekers. For more information, you can visit us online at saltmarketing.co. I'm Jennifer Oraquah, StoryBrand Certified Guide, Marketing Strategist with Salt Marketing, and your host for today's episode of Worth Your Salt. Now, our comfort zones can feel like cozy cocoons, but what if stepping outside that bubble could lead to deeper engagement with your prospective clients? Today, we're stretching beyond familiarity to foster genuine connections and meaningful interactions, exploring how to navigate this territory without fear or hesitation. This is the magic where building bridges and sparking conversations, creating spaces where everyone feels seen and heard is possible at scale. So today, I'm thrilled to welcome MK Stahl to the Worth Your Salt podcast. She's a force to be reckoned with in building audience engagement. As the community manager for over 250 Fit Body locations, MK serves as both the voice of the people and the face of the organization. Her journey from a dedicated member to influential leader is a testament to her passion for health, fitness, and empowering others to be their best selves. With a knack for balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship, MK brings a wealth of experience and insight to the table, making her the perfect guide for our exploration into intentionally creating meaningful connections and authentic engagement. So buckle up and prepare to embark on a journey of growth, discovery, and transformative community building with the one and only MK Stahl. MK, I appreciate you joining me today on Worth Your Salt.
Thank you, Jennifer, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So tell me a little bit about your history and how you arrived at where you are today. What inspired you to transition from being a Fit Body Bootcamp member to being deeply involved in the community and the growth of the company?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love talking about the journey to inspire other people if they feel like they're, in a similar situation and want to explore an opportunity like this. So for me, I was going to a big box gym. This was back in 2016. I had just gotten married. I was working in a somewhat fulfilling career, but didn't think it was going to be my forever job. And one of my friends invited me to a new gym in town, Fit Body Bootcamp. And, I'd been training at a big box gym. I like to run. I was very self-motivated. I didn't ever really get into group fitness. I didn't think I needed a personal trainer or any of that. But I said, you know what, I'll go try it with you. So I go try Fit Body Bootcamp. And within the first few sessions that I attended, within the first week, I just fell in love with the concept. And it wasn't the workout. It was the community. It was the culture. It was that the coaches knew me by name. I saw the same people every morning when I would go at 6 a.m. We got to know each other. We became friends. And I was witnessing how by them just being at boot camp for 30, 45 minutes, 5 days a week, it was spilling out into so many other areas of their life. It was making them show up as a better employee, a better mom, a better wife. They had a more positive mindset. And of course, it was doing the same for me. And after being a member for just a few months, I was like, you know what? If I could wake up and do something like that every day to help other people, then I would feel so fulfilled. And so my husband and I, we started looking into franchise ownership, and one thing led to the next. And we ended up opening up our own location about 6 months after I became a member. So it all happened very, very quickly. And then over the course of the last 6 years, we opened 3 locations. We also have purchased all of the territory rights to an entire state in South Carolina, where you're located.
Yes.
And I'm now the community manager for the Fit Body Bootcamp brand. So I host a podcast called Beyond the Scale, where I connect all of our Fit Body clients across 250 locations with health and fitness professionals. We talk about mindset, everything related to, being your best self. And then also I help just kind of bridge the gap between what's happening at HQ, which is over in California, the Fit Body Bootcamp headquarters, and all of our 250 locations. So I'm kind of like that middle person. It's been a journey.
Yeah. And as someone deeply involved in fitness and wellness, you just talked about being a runner. I am too. What kind of challenges did you face sort of stepping into that role of building community as opposed to building fitness?
We often say at Fit Body, amongst all the other owners, that we are in the people business, not the fitness business, because it really is about our people. And one thing that sets us apart, and we have found that really works for us, is investing in not only our team that is coaching our sessions, that is leading our organization, but our clients, because the better you get to know your clients and the more you have insight on what's going on in their life outside of boot camp, the easier it's going to be to motivate them to continue to come. The easier it's going to be to help them lose the weight and help them show up like they want to. And so that's one thing that we really pride ourselves on. And it takes intention. There are a lot of different systems and programs and campaigns that we'll run to try to generate engagement, try to get the new people really unified with the people that have been coming for a long time. And it does take intention, it takes work. But I would say it's the one thing that has helped our business grow at the rate it has over the years.
So before this role, how would you characterize your comfort level with basically engaging and encouraging strangers to participate? You talked about intentionality around that. Sometimes that's uncomfortable for people.
Oh my goodness. Yes, so uncomfortable. I actually just talked on another podcast about this the other day, how you have, a lot of business owners, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. When you're starting out, you do feel like an imposter a little bit. You have that imposter syndrome feeling. And I'd love to say it goes away, but I do feel that it creeps back in every now and then, especially when you're just putting yourself out there in a new situation. But for me, I started this when I was 26 years old. So very young, not a lot of experience doing anything. Fitness had always been a big part of my life. I grew up a dancer, a runner. I was very, very active, again, self-motivated. And I love to tell other people about, what worked for me, but I didn't have that education. I didn't have the accolades to show for it. I didn't have anything, the comma beside my name that said I went to school for it, or even any of the certifications. So yes, a part of me kind of felt like if I open this gym, and even though I am a fit person, who is to say that I know how to help someone lose the weight? Who is to say that I know how to lead a gym, lead a session, and that people are going to want to come back? And I'll never forget my first Fit Body Bootcamp session that I coached. This is a story that I love to tell. So my husband and I, we embarked on this journey together. My husband, I'll mention, he is a physical therapist. So he went to school for all of the things that I'm now doing, and I did not. And so he, though, was helping me more on the back end. In the beginning, he would come to the gym with me and he would help out at the front desk. And I had all intentions of coaching the majority of the sessions by myself. In the first boot camp session that I ever coached, we have a full room of new clients. I'm meeting these people for the first time. I'm demoing the workout, and I get so excited to demo these push-ups with the TRX down into this super low position, and I fall flat on my face.
Oh, no.
And I just laughed it off, and I said, and this is exactly what not to do. And, it only goes up from there. So, when it comes to training other people, and when I had to step into that role, I had that imposter syndrome, but it was something that I had to just get over. And I do believe that the more you put yourself in situations where you feel uncomfortable, the more comfortable you get with doing that, the easier it gets and the more confident you become. And it all starts with courage. Like, you have to just have the courage to show up in the position that you've never been in before, but know that once you put the reps in, you're going to build that confidence, and that imposter syndrome is not going to flood your mind anymore. And that's really what I had to do in the beginning. And same goes for running the business. I mean, I didn't know how to run a business either, but I just had to learn as I went on. And of course, there were mistakes that I made, but I do believe that the mistakes that I made is really how I can help people today not make those mistakes, and which makes me qualified to be in the position that I'm in.
Yeah. And I feel like there are a lot of parallels here, like what you talk about today about mindset and getting out of those comfort zones. I feel like this philosophy has sort of permeated everything that you do. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, definitely. I believe that, you have the power to either believe all the negative or just look for the positive. And there have been so many days where I've had to coach myself through that. I mean, when it comes to leading a team, when it comes to, when if anyone's listening to this who has a business, I mean, when one of your clients cancels on you, or you get a bad review, or something happens, it's like, you can let that affect you in a negative way, or you can say, hey, I'm going to learn from this. We're going to move on, and we're going to be stronger because of it. And I can think of so many examples where things like that happened. And of course, I made, the wrong decision sometimes. And of course, I've let that negative mindset creep in. But the more times I can try to avoid that, the better off I've been, and the more I've learned from it.
So what role, when we talk about your clients, your members, what role does community play in supporting their growth and success and really growing the company itself?
So at Fit Body Bootcamp, It's not like a big box gym where you can just come in at any time. So you have an app where you book your sessions. So you can come in the morning. Some locations have midday workouts and then the evening sessions. And so most of our clients, typically what they do is they'll end up coming to the same session a few times a week, or maybe they'll alternate between 2 or 3 different session times, and they'll really get to know the people that they work out with. This is one of those gyms where we are a membership-based studio. We recommend you come at least 3 to 5 times a week so that you can really see the results.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you're working out with the same people. You're starting to feel that community because you're with those people all the time. And we encourage our members, like at the beginning of the session, we'll start with, you have to go around the room and give everybody a high five.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we'll bring it in the middle of the room and we'll put our hands in and we'll talk about, a mindset message of the week, and we'll break it down on family. Sometimes at the end of the session, as we're all stretching together, we'll go around the room and say like, hey, what's one goal that you have this week? Or what's one thing that's happened to you that's really, really great? Or what's one thing that you guys are working on that you might want to share? So we do things like that to really bring everyone together. And for some people, as you can imagine, it's a little uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But what we find is the people that are hesitant to join a community like this, the people that are, nervous just to walk through the doors, they're actually the ones that end up benefiting the most because they realize that this was something that they needed and they didn't even know it at the time. And we often say just walking through the door is the hardest part. Like once you get through the door, you can do everything else. And that really is true when it comes to the workout, when it comes to just immersing yourself in a new community full of people that you don't know. It does feel a little vulnerable for some people.
Yeah.
But I believe there's just so much power in being with other people. I'll speak a little bit deeper to that. During COVID, fitness business owners really went through some transitions.
Mm-hmm.
We had in Virginia a period for 6 months where we were only allowed to have 10 people in our studio at a time. So when we have studios with 400 members, we actually ended up closing for the majority of the time because we couldn't figure out a way, how could we only allow 10 people in? So we had to do virtual workouts and we had to try to continue to, cultivate that community feel online virtually. Well, then when we open back up, there's still a whole year where people are hesitant to get back into a group workout setting. They're hesitant to, go to coffee with their friends, hesitant to get too close to anyone. So that took so much intention and so much time to get people back to where we were in 2019. And I'm very happy to say here in 2024, we're definitely back to that. But there was a really strange period for about 2 years where we couldn't practice what we had and what had worked for those, many years past. And it was very challenging.
Yeah. All right, MK, I'm hoping our listeners are getting inspired to step outside their comfort zone and really engage with their audiences. We have to take a quick sponsorship break right now, but when we come back, I want to talk about the role that community engagement plays in getting to our goals.
The Worth Your Salt podcast is grateful to our partners and sponsors, including Get You Wired. If you're thinking about optimizing your website for demand generation, talk with the folks at Get You Wired. Get You Wired is a one-stop shop for best-in-class web design, conversion, and automation. From sales funnels to APIs, keep or active campaign optimization, e-commerce, and custom reporting, Get You Wired is your partner for not only superior website design, but seamlessly integrated marketing. Head on over to getyouwired.com for a free 1-hour strategy session. They live and breathe small business and are excited about your success. Check them out at www.getyou. That's the letter U, wired.com. Getyouwired.com. You won't be disappointed.
I'm back here on the Worth Your Salt podcast with MK Stahl, community manager for over 250 Fit Body locations. And MK, in your experience, how does building a strong sense of community enhance the effectiveness of the program itself, support the overall well-being of the participants?
You always have a workout buddy. That's the number one. I will just speak to my own personal experience going back to almost 7 years ago when I was a client. There would be mornings where I would not want to pull the sheets back. I would not want to get out of the bed to go to work out. But I had my friend Christina who was counting on me to show up. You have that accountability. And for someone who may be embarking a new fitness journey by themselves. When you join a studio like Fit Body Bootcamp, I guarantee you within 1 week, you are going to find someone there that you connect with, and they can serve as your accountability buddy. One thing that we do when we have a new person in the gym is we will go to a boot camp member that's been with us for a while, and we will say like, hey, Tina, this is a new client that we have coming in today. Will you be her workout buddy this week? And why? And we do that so that this person, this new person, feels like they have somebody that they can watch, that they are not, constantly looking around the room and seeing what other people are doing. They have someone to go to from day one. And we do that a lot just so that that person feels extra comfortable. And it also kind of makes the boot camp member that we've had, coming to us for a while feel really special too, to be like, appointed that VIP member to help a new person out. But going back to your question, I think just having the support from someone else to show up on the days where you don't want to show up is so valuable. Also, our coaches serve as accountability partners and buddies for our clients as well. What we do as a brand is if you join Fit Body Bootcamp and you don't show up within 7 days, 1 week, like we know people go on vacation and things are happening, but what we'll do is we will call you. We will say, hey, Jennifer, we haven't seen you this week. What's going on? Last time we met, you said you're working on losing 15 pounds. You're feeling so great. What's going on? What can we do to help you get in the studio? And so that's one thing that we do that really sets us apart is we get to know all of our members on a personal level so much that we call you, we text you, we email you when you don't show up. And it's not just an automated email, which I know many gyms do that, and that's okay. But this is a very personal relationship that we try to form. Our boot camp locations, some of them are large, some of them have 400 or 500 members, but I would say on average, most of our locations have between 200 and 300 clients. And at those locations, we have anywhere from 4 to 8 coaches. And amongst those coaches, most of our coaches are assigned a certain amount of clients that they're going to keep up with and they are going to form a relationship with. So you have that extra layer of accountability within your coach, more so than you even have with the people that you're working out with.
I love that. And I love just the community focused strategies that you're using to motivate members to get past those comfort zones. What kind of challenges do you observe among your members? How does having community help them overcome challenges?
Oh, that's a great question. And when you said challenges, I actually just thought that I didn't mention we do challenges throughout the years to help hold our members accountable. But it actually is really fun too. Like we just wrapped up a 10-pound challenge. It was a 6-week program where all of our clients were encouraged to go to boot camp a certain amount of days. They were encouraged to drink, a certain amount of water and track their calories on an app and do all of these fun things. And they would do it together. And at the end of the 10-pound challenge, as long as you lost 10 pounds or more, you went into a drawing to win $500. And so we gave over $5,000 away as a brand. So we do things like that throughout the year to add that little, fun component to it as well to keep our members extra motivated. So that's, one thing that we do. And I would say, like, going back to the community and the challenges, I would say that the number one thing that our clients face is most of our clients are middle-aged women, they're moms. And whether their children are little or you're an empty nester and your children are older, it's just time, having the time to make for yourself, feeling like you're worth the time, feeling guilty for spending time on yourself. I would say that's the number one challenge that we see our clients face. Going back to, we know where our clients are when they're not there. If I call a client and say, hey, we haven't seen you in a week, what's going on? I can't tell you how many times it is, my daughter's been sick, I can't make it to the gym. My grandson, I'm taking care of him now because my daughter works full time and she needs me. There's just so many things as women that we are responsible for. And sometimes we feel guilty taking time away from our family, away from our workplace, away from the home to spend time to work out. And there are going to be seasons of life, especially with the young mothers like myself, where it's going to be challenging to show up. And it really is. it really is the time to lean on that community that I speak of, because there's other women that are in that same situation and they can kind of coach each other out of that and through it and try to get to the other side of that. But I would say that's the number one thing is women are just feeling overwhelmed, they're burnout, they're feeling guilty, and there's just not enough time is the number one challenge.
For sure. So how have you seen your wellness community support that accountability, that kind of mutual knowledge sharing that goes on, personal growth, encouragement? How do you see your community doing that even without you?
We tell women all the time, like, this is a workout program that's supposed to fit your lifestyle. It's only 30 minutes. We are open 6 days a week. We don't expect you to come 6 days a week. We have multiple sessions per day so that if your schedule is all over the place, like mine, if maybe one day you can go in the morning, maybe the next day you can go in the evening. We try to make it so that we can accommodate you. It's all about you. And so the number one thing that we tell people is you need to look at this as like a journey of one day at a time, but also don't stress yourself out about this. Like, come as many times as your lifestyle and your week will allow right now. Don't try to come 6 days. Don't try to come every single day at the same time. Let's just take this one day at a time, because we find that the people, especially when we have like a challenge, as I spoke of, we have somebody that's new and they come in and they say, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds. I'm ready to get back into it. I'm going to come to the gym every single day. I'm going to track my macros. I'm going to sleep 8 hours. I'm going to drink all my water. From day one, they're already putting way too much on their plate. And what happens is life happens, unforeseen circumstances happen. And they're not able to show up every day. They're not able to get their 8 hours of sleep. And then they feel like, well, why should I even do any of it? I should just throw in the towel. And I can't tell you how many times we see that. And you and I know that we all do that to ourselves. And so we try to coach women in the beginning not to do that and really just look at it as a step ladder approach and take it one day at a time and just commit to a few days a week. Don't overload yourself.
So for wellness practitioners who are kind of trying to build this community, do you have any tips for creating those meaningful connections and fostering genuine interaction?
We have bi-weekly and monthly meetings with all of our team members, so all of our coaches. So whether you're listening to this and you're a gym owner, or maybe you even own a physical therapy practice, there's no reason why you can't be meeting with your team either bi-weekly or once a month, where you go through every single patient, every single client that you have and talk about them, any new people that you have, anybody who left your practice and why. I would say that a lot of times when owners come to me and they say, hey, I need help with retention, or I need help with just my business in general, it all goes back to the client experience and how well they know who their clients are. So what we do is when we have a new person join our gym, which will have a few new people every single week, we have a one-on-one, either sit down meeting or a phone call with them. And we have a system where we'll take notes on this person. So we'll say what their goals are, what their forwards are, what their family is, what their occupation is, what their reason for coming is. And so we will have all of that listed out so that anybody can go into our system. Any of our coaches can go into our system and they can see who this new person is, why they're coming, what motivates them, and what they need help with. And if this person ends up leaving, let's say they leave a few months later and they decide, I'm going to go join a new gym, or, something happens and they want to cancel their membership. We have all of these conversations we've had in our notes, so we can use that as a way to say like, hey, this is why you came to us. What did we do wrong here? What can we help you with? How can we salvage this relationship? How can we better help you? And so I think as business owners who are listening to this, if you can just have meetings with your team, with your employees, and you can talk about who's coming into your doors every single week and really know who that is, it's going to help your business tremendously.
Yeah, that's great advice. All right, it's time for another quick break. We'll be right back after this. Hey, Salt Nation, you're listening to the Worth Your Salt podcast. I'm Jennifer Oraqua, and today I'm talking with MK Stahl about how you can push your own boundaries to engage your audience. We'd love to hear your thoughts on building community and engagement, so be sure to join Salt Marketing over on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and let us know how you're intentionally encouraging participation among your believers. So, MK, you shared earlier about your own mindset and wrapping your head around engaging with strangers to build community. Let's talk a little bit about what that takes. I think a lot of wellness practitioners might feel more comfortable in one-to-one settings rather than building communities. So, any advice on the mindset needed to effectively foster a sense of community among a huge client base?
I think the number one thing is remembering it's not about you mentioned, going from one-on-one to a large community. It's not about you, it's about them. So if you are a business owner or a community leader and you're feeling, again, back to that imposter syndrome, you're like, oh gosh, how do I do this? How do I do this effectively? You got to remember that it's about the people. It's not about you and what your end goal is. And for me, it's to form a group of people who are inspired by fitness, who want to change their life with fitness, who want to feel their best, who want to be the best version of themselves and show up in that way every single day. And in order to do that, you have to hire the right people. You have to train them properly. You have to treat them right. You have to invest in them. And in return, they're going to help invest into the people that are going to walk into your doors. And so I think as a leader and as a community leader, I have to empower other people. And that's my main role right now, is empowering other people to step into the role as community leaders within their locations. And that sometimes is hard because as someone who started one location and then grew multiple and then stepped into this position, I often wanted to do everything when it came to my business, when it came to all the locations. I wanted to wear all the hats. And that took many years to realize that I needed to be the one to just empower other people to do that. And so I think that if you're a business owner listening to this, there's always ways that you can delegate more. There's always ways that you can empower more other people and empower other people to inspire your community. And it all starts with you.
Very nice. What about the fear of being transparent and authentic in front of a community? Do you have any strategies for becoming more comfortable with the need for vulnerability in community building? People buy from who they know, like, and trust, right? So how can we get comfortable with being vulnerable?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you see many leaders say, like, don't let people see you sweat. Leaders need to hide everything. And while I understand that in some situations that is true, I think the more open and transparent you can be with your team and your clients, the deeper your relationship is going to be. For me, in the beginning, like, we started hiring coaches, and our coaches were like full time. So they were there all the time. And as a young business owner, it was all trial by error, and I was thrown into the fire. I threw myself into the fire, and I was learning as I went. And the team that I hired, they saw that. And so I did build a very deep relationship with them, because anytime I would try something, I would tell them before I did it. And I would be like, I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to do this together. We're going to figure it out together. And as I have grown as a leader, and as I've really grown up as a business owner, I have learned that there are some situations where you need to just do it on your own, and then, let your team in on what you're doing after you figure it out. But I do believe that in terms of like being transparent with your clients, the more transparent you are, the less resentment you're going to have. I have an example of that. So when I started my second Fit Body Bootcamp location, it was challenging because I still was wanting to be in my first one all the time. And I realized that wasn't possible. They were 45 minutes from one another. I had two separate teams. I had already grown location number one, and now I was really focused on growing location number two. But unfortunately, I never really communicated to the location number one team members exactly where I was spending my time, which it was all at location number two. And there was a little bit of that. There was a little level of resentment because they were used to me being at location number one, helping them out all the time. And now all of a sudden I had just disappeared. And so one day we had to have this sit down meeting, and I had to be very open and transparent with them about where I was spending my time, what my efforts were, right, or what my priority was right now, and how they could best support me. And I wish I would have had that conversation so much sooner on, but I didn't really know how much time I was going to be taking away from that location until I was in it. And so I think some owners, like, you just kind of have to learn as you go, but the more transparent you can be, the better off it's going to be for your relationship with your team and with your clients.
Yeah, so true. So what have you found to be some of the most rewarding aspects of being deeply involved in this community and helping others achieve their goals?
Just the stories that you hear. I mean, I have, a lady that I helped coach on a nutrition challenge who she never thought she was going to be able to have children. She was diabetic, had high blood pressure. She ended up losing 30 to 40 pounds. And then into her second challenge, she found out she was pregnant. So like stories like that, it gives you goosebumps, and they continue. You see new things happen every single week like that. You hear new stories, and it never gets old. It's so amazing. Just the other day, I was at the gym and a new client came in, and she was telling me how ever since she started having kids, like she hadn't been working out since she started having kids, and she just felt like her life was too crazy. And ever since she started coming to boot camp, she just feels like she is a better mom. She's a better wife. She's a stay-at-home mom. So she feels like all she does is take care of her kids, and she finally has that time for herself. And so just hearing things like that, it makes me so happy, and it makes it all so worth it.
I love that. So looking ahead, what are your aspirations for the future of the Fit Body Bootcamp community?
Yeah. So my aspirations personally, I'm actually in the process of opening another location right now that is about 7 minutes from my house. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
going to be really fun. My kids are a little bit older now. So I grew my family and grew my business at the same time. And of course, when they were really, really little, it was challenging. But now my daughter is old enough she loves going to the gym. She understands how everything works, and she's excited to help out. And she's been saying she's going to decorate the kids area. So that's fun. So that's, what's in store for me. And then as a brand, we are really trying to expand our footprint. There's so many states and so many areas that we haven't even gotten into yet. We're based in California. I personally am on the East Coast in Virginia. And so there is a lot of untapped potential along the East Coast that we're trying to get into. So if you're listening to this and you're in a gym ownership, you know who to talk to.
Absolutely. And of course, links to MK's profiles, her podcast, as well as all the ways that you can connect with her will be available on our website at saltmarketing.co. But right now, it is time for our lightning round questions. These are a few quick questions that I like to ask of every guest. MK, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. First question is, what's something about you that often surprises people?
Oh, I am a homebody. Most people think I am an extrovert and love being around people all the time, but I recharge best when I am alone at home.
Very good. All right. What is your favorite thing about the work that you do?
Helping other people live a life that they are excited about and happy with.
I like that. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Never make permanent decisions on temporary feelings.
That's a very good one. That one ought to be framed like over my desk, I think.
Refer back to that a lot, especially as a mom who's overwhelmed some days. Sometimes you just want to light it all on fire. And you have to just step back and say, okay, tomorrow might be the best day of my life. I'm not lighting it on fire today.
That's right. All right. Last question. Who's inspiring you right now? What podcasts are you listening to, or what's the best book that you've read recently? One
of my favorite podcasts is the Goal Digger podcast, Jenna Kutcher. She talks a lot about marketing and business, networking, and she's just really great. I think she keeps it real. So she's one of the people that I look up to as a business owner and a business leader. So I'm actually listening to her latest episode this morning.
Yep. I love her as well. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of Worth Your Salt, MK.
Thank you so much for having me.
I also want to thank our community here on Worth Your Salt and let you know that if you have a great success story and you'd like to be a guest, tell us about why you're worth your salt by emailing us at grow@saltmarketing.co. Be sure to subscribe on the Salt Marketing website so you never miss an episode. And finally, leave us a review or give the show a handful of stars wherever you get your content. That's all for this episode of Worth Your Salt. Be sure to join me again next time. In the meantime, let's get out there and shake things up.